Welcome to Living Life in Love with Vitiligo. I'm your host, Mark Braxton from Raleigh, North Carolina. This is a global vitiligo awareness and education podcast. You will hear the true and authentic stories from people living with vitiligo. You'll also hear from their loved ones, medical professionals, licensed mental health therapists, relationship counselors, global vitiligo support foundations and organizations, and so much more. Sit back and enjoy living life and love with vitiligo. Once again, I'm your host, Mark Braxton from Raleigh, North Carolina. Welcome to Living Life and Love with Vitiligo. I'm your host, Mark Braxton from Raleigh, North Carolina. So today, I have Elisa McLean. Welcome, Elisa.
Hi, thank you, Mark. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Now, you were on my radio podcast before, but I wanted to have you come back because, a year, a lot can happen within that time. And as we know, a lot has happened.
A lot has happened.
Yes. And that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about business and talk about the importance of community. And I say business because, although this is a podcast for the vitiligo community, we're still people. And we have people that want to go into business and they're not sure how to do it. Sometimes they're afraid to take that step. And this conversation, I'm hoping that we can give somebody the tools they need to make that leap of faith.
Right. Nice,
So,
nice, yeah. So what do you have for me?
All right. Well, let's get started. Here we go. So let's start here. I know what kind of business you have. But can you share with the listeners the type of business you have and how did you get started in it?
Okay. So I have a small business. It's an ice cream shop, very small in Raleigh. It's about 800 square feet. The idea came a few years earlier, where I would say probably 10 years earlier. And I say that because that was right about when I had my tumor. And so we were always an ice cream family, but ice cream came into play even more so when I found out about the tumor and having to have emergency surgery and stuff like that. Because at the time, I'm a single parent and I had 3 young boys. And so we had a community around us. And when I say community, it was friends from church, parents from basketball group, a football group, and they all band together. And they would take my sons down to Southport, where there was this Southport, North Carolina, because we lived in Brunswick County. And there was this small ice cream shop down there. And they opened the only ice cream shop in that area. And it was right by the water. And they opened every summer. And they were always packed with people. And so the boys even worked at the ice cream shop for several years, several summers over, summer break. And so ice cream is always a big part. But what struck for me is when you go down, you always see how happy people were. You always meet new people, or you'll see somebody celebrating something. It's a birthday, an anniversary, so it just brought people together and the joy that ice cream gave. So that's how it came to be. The idea was planted by one of my sons who worked for the ice cream shop in Southport. He said, "Mom, this is something I think you will be good at. We should think about opening an ice cream shop." But at that time, I couldn't because we had a lot going on. And my husband now, best friend then, I spoke to him about it, came up with him, and he said, I think you should do, you'll be good at. And then years later, fast forward, 2021, we opened in January, and that dream and that idea came to pass, and Flavors was birthed. So
Absolutely. And I can vouch, it is a great ice cream parlor. I go to it quite often. And I'm gonna share, it was one of my father's favorite places to go. He loved to get ice cream. Now, ice cream is interesting. So let's talk about it a little bit. What were some of the challenges getting started? Because, somebody's out there saying, yeah, I want to have my own business. Yet they don't know that with that comes some of the challenges getting started. Right. And even after you started, there's still some other challenges you will face.
Yeah. So Mark, I was actually sitting outside the ice cream shop yesterday, Sunday evening, with a few customers, three customers, and we were talking. And I was explaining to them that from the minute I started with this shop, there's been issues, there's been challenges. And it started first off the bat with my contractor. I hired him. He came in, he said he can get the job done in 2 weeks because it wasn't a lot of work that we needed done. He said 2 weeks, that he started in October, that 2 weeks turned into months.
Wow.
I had to find somebody else. I had to change the locks, had him removed. So it was that off the bat, it was a challenge. So here we are. Got somebody else to come in, finish up the job, help me finish up the job so we could open up. And we started off with a great year in our first year. And then here comes the town of Cary. And the town of Cary wants us to put in a grease interceptor, in-ground grease interceptor,
Wow.
large interceptor. When I started to talk to plumbers about it and everything, it was going to cost us $20,000 to get that
Wow.
done. I had no idea where that money was going to come from. So that was a huge challenge. And that challenge went from 2020, just about 2 years. We've been dealing with that challenge. And I've been actually to the point where I had put the shop up for sale.
Right.
And when I put the shop up for sale, everybody was reaching out to me and said, do not let Town of Cary win on this because they're wrong. I had 7 plumbers went to Town of Cary. And so we're on the tail end of this after 2 years. So we've had contractor issues. We've had business issues with the Town of Cary, but I keep pushing. I already put all this money into it to start it. And I just keep pushing. And then one of the reasons why I keep pushing is because of my customers that was always kept pushing me once they found out what was happening.
Right.
So,
and I'm gonna say this for people that are watching, they may not understand, although your address is Raleigh, but you're under Cary's jurisdiction, so it's a weird setup there.
Right. So my address does say Raleigh. So if you look at the address, it says 2831 Jones Franklin Road, Raleigh, North Carolina.
Right.
When I reached out to the health department before I opened, they said they had nothing to do with it. I fell under the agriculture department because of the things that I was wanting to do, right? And so I did everything that I thought I did everything right. Everything that the agriculture department told me to do, I did. And then the Town of Cary pops up out of the blue, and he walked around and he said, do you have a grease interceptor? And I said, no, I wasn't told that I needed a grease interceptor. And he said, well, you need one. And they wanted me to put in one of the, I have an 8 square foot built space. You know the space. You know how tiny it is. We do not have a kitchen. We do not have a stove. We do not make anything with grease, butter, none of that stuff. We just dip ice cream. That's what we do. And so 7 plumbers went to them and said, hey, what's going on? And they refused to budge. Wow. But we got a customer. She came in and she was actually an attorney and she wanted to get involved because she said this is not right. She got the town attorney involved. You met the gentleman next to you that was next to you when we did the fundraiser in March.
Yes.
He got the governor's office involved. Just the customer base with encouragement from them alone. I couldn't quit. I couldn't, even if I wanted to. I couldn't quit. So lots of challenges. There was others along the way, but those are the two major ones that really, I want to say hurt the business, but I don't want to say hurt the business, if you know what I mean. It did put us behind. Greatly, but I feel like once we're able to open the way we need to open, we can catch up because people know that we're there. We just need the opportunity to open and do business.
Absolutely. And sometimes those challenges are also blessings in disguise. And I say that, and we're going to come back to some of the positives, but I want to
Yes.
kind of switch gears a little bit and talk about that because you had that event. It was in March, correct?
It was on March
Yeah,
2nd. Yeah.
March 2nd. I was there. I'm sorry, I just don't remember the date.
That's okay.
Um, to see the community come together, to see your clientele show up, the news, there was a DJ, it was a great event. Can you talk a little bit more about that and just share how everybody came together?
So I actually had a customer. He works for, I don't want to drop names, but he works for one of my competitor ice cream shop. And he has been following us since day one, and he would always come and check on me. So when he found out about the grease interceptor, he texted me and he said, "Hey, I haven't been at the shop in a while, but I've been following you every step of the way. Have you done this? Have you set up a GoFundMe?" I said, "I don't want to ask these people for money." I said, because that's not their responsibility. And that pride piece kicks in. It's like, oh man, I don't want to have to ask people for money. And he said to me, I kid you not, he called me after I said that and he said, you're a praying woman and you need to drop your pride. He said, you don't need any pride in your way right now. And he said, you need to do a GoFundMe. So he started with the GoFundMe. So I was like, okay. So we set up the GoFundMe together and we raised $1,000 there in one night. $1,000 came in the first night we set it up. And then the second day, this young lady that comes to the shop often, and I met her through the shop. She's with Black in Technology, and they do, we do fundraisers for schools and organizations and stuff. So I got to know a lot of people, and she was with Black in Technology, and she said, "Hey, I spoke to our group, and we want to do a fundraiser, and we're going to do it in March, and we don't want you to do any." I said, "So what can I do?" She said, "We don't want you to do anything. This is all us." She organized it. They organized it. They got the DJ. They did everything. And then she said, "Do you want vendors there?" And I said that, well, it's up to you guys because you're in control of this. I was, and I said, "But I don't want to charge anybody anything to be here." And she's like, "Well, that's fine." So we got vendors. We got invited vendors and so forth. And they did everything. But let me tell you something. I saw the flyer they put. I didn't do anything, Mark, anything. And I showed up and on the 2nd, and I didn't know what to expect. But let me tell you, when I saw the community outpour and it still brings me to tears. When I saw that March 2nd, I was in so much awe of, because I never knew, I would have never known the blessing that was behind, that I was going to get from this community that I was in for 3.5 years. I met so many people along the way, but I would have never in my wildest dream, I never thought that day would turn out the way it did. And that day we raised something close to $2,000.
Wow.
And then one of the vendors, and I'm going to drop his name, he from Tri Seafood in Cary, was our food vendor, and they made $500 that day, and he gave it all to me.
Oh, wow.
He didn't keep a dime. He called me and he said, "Hey, we made this much and we want you to have it. My wife and I want you to have it." And they wrote me a check. And so we raised about $3,000 between the GoFundMe and that. But the outpouring of the community, people was coming in from left, right, and center, just saying, "Keep the faith." Who didn't pray with me, prayed for me. And then who didn't show, so it was like, wow. Oh, the school, Swift Creek. They
Yes.
called and they said they wanted to do a spirit night. And you know, when we do spirit nights, we give back 25% of the sales for the day. And we did the spirit night, and I called her the following week because it was a Friday. And I said, hey, you raised $100 and whatever dollars. And she's like, you can come and pick up the check this week or whatever. And she said, we didn't tell you, but our plan when I met with the board was to do the spirit night, but not take the money.
Wow.
We want you to keep the money.
Wow.
And I bought like a baby again.
Wow.
Because Mark, I honestly didn't know where the money was going to come from because I don't have it. We're not making that kind of money. I didn't have it. I don't have it up to this day. But they showed up and they showed out and they blessed favors beyond measure. And for that, I'll be forever grateful. I can't repay, but I'm really, really grateful. And yeah, you're right. You never know where the blessing is coming from.
Right. And I had an opportunity to set up as a vendor to talk about vitiligo. And I met people from all over. They were coming from Chapel Hill. Somebody came from Clayton. I'm thinking, wow, people came from all over.
Right.
And see, when we think community, we think small.
Yes.
We think our neighbor down the street
like
or somebody over here. No, everybody knows somebody. You don't know who's gonna get involved and want to come and support. And I do think the one thing that hurts a lot of us is that pride.
Yeah.
And even with restarting this podcast, I struggled with that because I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be on YouTube. I don't want people to see me. I don't want to do this. As somebody said, just do it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do it. So I'm here now,
Yeah.
We have to take that leap of faith. And it is scary sometimes, especially when we start talking about finances and money. We often don't see what's beyond what we're already making. And it can be scary. And I remember a few times pulling up and I saw that you were closed. I'm like, no, she can't be closed. But then when we talked again, you told me about the event. I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Now, that's not your last event, right?
No. So again, the young lady from Black in Technology, she was like, you know what? You've been through a lot. You need to do a re-grand opening. And I said this time it will, if I do something like that, it will be to thank the community.
Right.
And she said, that's fine. I said, because the outpouring was, I just want to say thank you. So we're going to have an event again. The next event will be August 17th. It's going to be from 2 to 8. It's going to be very similar to the first one. We're going to have vendors, but this time we're going to have the vendors pay for, it's a $10 table fee to set up their table. And then everything else is on us. Besides the ice cream, you have to purchase your ice cream. But we'll have a person there doing hot dogs, and we're going to have music. And just like the last time, it's going to be a good day. And whatever else we can fit in that.
Right. Well,
in that day. And we're going to do.
I'm going to make sure I get my $10 in because I want to put up a table to spread the vitiligo awareness and education. So yes.
And this time, and that on the 17th, we also within that we're gonna do what we call Stuff Your Stanley, because we did a Stuff Your Stanley a few months ago, and it went so well. So she's thought it will go well again. So we're gonna do Stuff Your Stanley. So if you have a Stanley cup, you can bring the Stanley cup out, and we'll stuff it for $6.
Oh wow. So stuff it full of ice cream, right? And just fill it up.
We're trying to keep it to 4 scoops or 4 scoops.
Okay, gotcha.
$6. Yeah. So it's gonna be a fun day. We're again, we had such good weather in March. We're hoping for good weather. Right. And so on the 17th of August, so mark your calendar, from 2 to 8.
Okay, definitely. And I will see if I can pull more people from the vitiligo community to come out as well. Not necessarily to just, share what vitiligo is, but to support. And I'll make sure I share it out on my Facebook page as well, because it's all about community. It's all about
Yeah.
us supporting each other and building each other up. It's not competition. This is supporting,
Right.
I say families, and
Right.
we're all one big family.
Right.
So let's talk about this a little bit. The positives of owning a business. We know about the challenges that comes with it. We know
Mhm.
about, the financial issues and the pitfalls that we have there. But let's talk about the positives. What would you say are the positive aspects of owning your business?
Well, it's great to work for yourself, number one,
Right.
and not have to punch somebody else's clock. And the positives of it is that you're building a legacy, and
Right.
hopefully you have a family that when you build that legacy, it will be successful, and it's you have somebody that you can pass that on to keep going. Businesses, some
Right.
businesses have people that start and it goes on for years, and their family continue to run it, and it's a legacy for them. So you get to work for yourself. You get to build a legacy. If you have children, you get to teach them the values of owning a small business versus working for somebody else and putting in your time and effort for somebody else who might underappreciate you.
Right.
For me, part of owning a business, a positive part is the young people that work for me. I get to hire these amazing, amazing, talented young people every summer and build relationships. And I was just talking about some of them yesterday and to another employee, and I was like, "You have big shoes to fill, buddy," because one of the young ladies that started with me when I first opened, she came in yesterday to say hi, and I was talking to her, and I remember she wanted to be an attorney, immigration attorney. Um, and she's from Mexico and she's here. She went to school. She was telling me she's on a journey to that.
Oh
And
wow.
she said it all started with you. And I always talk to them, and that's a positive for me because I tell them when they come on, I said, this is not where you end. This is not an end, and this is a starting point. You
Right.
come in, I get to teach you, I get to instill some values in you, teach you customer service, and you're supposed to grow and learn from that and move on. So you get to do that's things you get to do. I had another young lady call me last week that worked with me our second year. She's applying for med school.
Oh wow. Good. Good.
And she's from UNC. She played for their basketball team, and now she worked for me. She's applying for med school. So um that's a big positive for me. And then again, it comes back down to community.
Right.
These are young people that's in the community, and you're giving me the opportunity to mold them in their first work role, because all of them actually come and they had no work experience. They're coming from high school in like your junior year of high school. So and then you get to work with other schools. I get to give back to the community that I work in when they do spirit nights. So there is so many positive parts to forget the challenges, but there's so many positive
Right.
parts to owning your own business.
Absolutely. And one of the things I want to talk about is um, that importance of building your clientele.
Mhm.
Sometimes we think your black owned business that all of your clients have to be black. No,
Mhm.
you know, let's talk a little bit about some of the clientele you have, the different walks of life they come from, and just the connection you have with the community overall.
So my client, like you mentioned, you hit on it earlier, and they come from everywhere. They come from everywhere.
Right.
And they come in with pictures, and we saw this online and we bookmarked it because we wanted to try it. I've saw people from as far as Virginia and Atlanta, and you name it. We've somebody's passed through, and the different walks of life. I have doctors that come in there. I spoke to a doctor from my surgery was at Duke. I spoke to somebody from Duke who's a doctor. Um, Several doctors. I have a dentist family that comes in there with his mother-in-law and his wife. I have people just starting off, in their family, young babies, young couples. I have older couples that come in. I have couple that comes every Sunday with their their church group, because
Oh,
we're
wow.
right up. Yeah,
Right.
he last Sunday he came with 14 people
Wow.
from his Bible study group. And he used to be an engineer before he retired. That's one of the people God put in my life to help me with this challenge with Tana Carey. And he's been coming since we opened, building long-lasting relationship. Scoops,
Right.
you met Scoops, right?
Yes.
Scoops at the last event, who had
Uh-huh.
the mascot. Met her when we first opened, and they come in every week, and she wants to volunteer. Anytime we have an event, she said she wanted to be there and volunteer.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, I mean, you a
Yes.
teacher, I have so many teachers that come in, and the clientele is so diverse. I can keep going on, and it's Black, white, Asians, and you name it.
Right.
You name it. It's not one color that comes into that shop.
And and that's what I want to say to the people watching. When you had that event in March, it was everybody there.
Mhm.
Sometimes we get tied into, oh, it's for the Black community and it's for this community. No, it was for everybody. Just watching people come in to get the ice cream. They waited in line. They talked to each other. They
Right.
socialized outside. We had
Yeah.
people sitting on the sidewalk, just enjoying themselves. And that's what
Yeah.
it's all about.
Yeah. Dancing,
Yeah,
eating.
dancing, yes. And then we had an undercover news caster out there too. The
Yeah.
gentleman that came in from Channel 5, but he was there as a part of the community,
Right.
and it's so funny because I walked up to him. I can't remember his name, but I walked up to him. I said, you look familiar. And I kept looking and said, you know what? I thought you went to my church, but no, you're on the news.
WRAL, Ken
Yes.
Smith.
Yes, there we go. There we go. I couldn't remember his name, but just seeing him there, not at work, he
With
was
his
just enjoying
family.
himself with his family, right? Getting the ice cream. He had his daughter with him, and like
Just chilling.
people
Yeah.
just enjoying the time. I'm sitting
Yeah.
there going, we need more events like this in the community.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I really want to do. Once we get off bearings and our foot on the floor. I've always loved people, and I love anything community related, and that's what I wanted to do. And I wanted to do, there's so much that I wanted to do with this shop for our community. I wanted to do free movie nights, set up a big screen and
Right.
and bring the kids over the summer and do each weekend have a different movie, different things like that. I wanted just to do something and have the community involved. And so hopefully my prayer is that we get on our feet again, and I'm able to do the things next summer to involve the community and have the kids. I have a place for the kids to go on a um, Saturday afternoon,
Right.
just simple things. It doesn't need to be anything elaborate, but yeah, there's so many little things we could do for our community. One of the things I was involved in was the Swift Creek Exchange Club. And for Veterans Day, they would put flags out on the field for the fallen soldiers. And I got involved with that a few years back, but we didn't do it this year. And I would like to get involved in that again, because we'll volunteer our time to go out and put the flags out on the field and help them, or we would sell the flags at the shop, that kind of thing. So yeah, any opportunity that I have to help and give back, I'm all about it.
Absolutely. And that's what's important. We got to get back to each other. We got to help each other. Stop
Hmm.
looking at each other. As I said it before, it's competition, because we do too much
Yeah.
of that. We're not competition. We got to help each other. If I'm growing in one area and you need a little assistance, I can reach
Hmm.
back and pull you up, and vice
Hmm.
versa. And that's what we
Right.
should be doing.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, um, we're coming to the close of this conversation. I want you to plug your event on August 17th again. And then I'm going to ask you to leave our listeners with some words of encouragement.
Okay. Okay.
I'm sorry, put you on the spot.
All right. So the event will be on August 17th of 2024. It will be from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. There will be vendors, there will be food, there will be music, balloons, and ice cream. You get, if you have your Stanley Cup, bring your Stanley Cup. We will stuff it. We'll put big scoops of ice cream in here for $6. So you can eat all the ice cream you want. So again, August 17th, 2024, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m.
And let me say this to the people out there. Make sure it's an official Stanley Cup. Do not take a Sharpie and write Stanley on the side and be like, yeah, I got my cup. No, it has to be a Stanley Cup.
So Mark, we also know we gotta realize not everybody wants to pay $50-$60 for a Stanley Cup, and not everybody could afford a Stanley Cup. So we're willing to work with any tumbler as long as it's clean. Make sure that it's clean. If we look and we don't think it's clean, we'll give it back to you. Make sure that it's washed and it's clean.
Okay. That's good. So, because I know I don't own a Stanley Cup, so I'm sorry, but so if you get a cup, that's a nice size tumbler. Make sure it's clean.
Yes.
Clean.
Yes.
Because we know, going back to like the movie theaters and people bringing popcorn buckets that are dirty, talking about refill it. Make sure it's clean.
Make sure it's clean. Because we will give it back to you. We're not gonna accept that.
Absolutely. But yes, I appreciate this conversation, but I'm still going to ask you to leave the listeners some words of encouragement. You know, that's how I always do. That's how I end things. And then I'll wrap us up. And then and go for there. But let me say this as you're thinking. To the viewers and listeners, make sure you watch all the different podcasts, because every guest has something special or unique to share, either about their journey, their story, about a situation, or just words of encouragement that somebody needs to hear. So right now I have 6 episodes in. This will be episode number 7. Listen to all of them. Everyone has something. They have something important to share. And I don't want people to miss out and feel like, oh, I don't want to listen to this person, because no, everybody's story is important. Everyone.
All right. So with that being said, I have 2, and you know who I am. So it comes from the word. One is that you can do all things through Christ that strengthens you. So as after I say that, I'll say you're never alone. Christ is always with you, and put your best foot forward. Do not let fear hurt you. Keep going, keep pushing. The world is your oyster. There is so much opportunity in this place. It's time for us to seize our opportunity. Whether it be you start small and you go big, but you have to make the first step. That God did not give you a spirit of fear, but of love and a sound mind. So put fear behind you and make your first step to doing what was implanted in you.
And let me say this, a baby step is still a step. So keep that in mind.
Right.
Yep. But Elisa, thank you so much for coming on and sharing more about flavors, and giving us a plug for the event that's coming. And just hopefully somebody out there who's interested in starting a business feels encouraged, and they know, okay, there may be challenges, but I can still tackle this. You know, I got the support of community and churches and schools and everybody else, because people will help you. You just have to ask.
You can say one thing.
Yes,
I've learned so much that I'm willing to share everything that I've learned from the beginning to end, especially if it's in the food industry.
Okay. All right. So that means there might be a part 3. So people listening, like, what do you mean by part 3? This is our second conversation. So I'll have to come on with the third one. Because no, I feel like, you know, even though this is a platform and it is for the vitiligo community, it's for everybody, whether you have vitiligo or not. This is about people. And I want to make sure I share information, because if I don't have it, somebody else has it.
Somebody else does, yeah.
And share that knowledge. Why not? You know,
right, exactly.
Hold on to it. No, you can't have it. This is all mine. Where's it going? You know, share it out with people.
Right, exactly.
Absolutely. So for our viewers and listeners and watchers and people that are browsing, You have been listening to Living Life and Love with Vitiligo. Now, this is how I always end my show, and I will continue to end my shows this way. Love is important. Love is in need. Love your friends. Love your family, spouse, your kids. Even when your kids are getting on your nerves and acting bad and showing out, love them. They need that love. Love your neighbor down the street. You know, maybe one that plays loud music. Still love that person. Love that person. I said this before. That cuts you off when you're driving down the street because you don't know what that person's dealing with, what's going on in their lives. Love your coworkers. Love your coworkers. Yeah. And love your enemies. There are people that don't like you for whatever reason, but you know what? Still show them love. Love is so important in this world. But most of all, look in the mirror, because we don't tell ourselves, I love you enough. Look in that mirror and tell yourself, I love you. Once again, you've been listening to Living Life and Love with Vitiligo. I'm your host, Mark Braxton from Raleigh, North Carolina. Y'all take care. Peace. You wish you could save us.